Right. So I have, as people join in, I'll let them in. I have a few topics that we want to touch on today for the second episode of B2B Weekly. Just in case there's new people that were not here last week, I think we should quickly introduce ourselves. Nemanja, does that work with you?
Yeah.
All right. If you want to start, I'll follow you.
Yeah. Basically, I'm someone who's running. I don't like to call it an agency, but more of a team that's working with B2B companies to help them generate persistent revenue with cost-efficient strategies. Basically, that's it.
Perfect. And on my end, we work a lot with B2B CEOs to grow their personal brand. We help them create content, especially we do a lot of LinkedIn, Twitter, podcast as well. And my focus has been on how do you create content to generate inbound, whether you're a B2B company or whether you're a B2B CEO growing your personal brand or somebody trying to share their message to the world. Nemanja, you and I have touched on a few different B2B content topics and B2B overall. One of them that I think we could start today is on how to use social media to network and to sell, right? So social selling and how to utilize content for networking and to generate inbound. And I wanted to hear more about how do you network using LinkedIn specifically. We can start there. And what are the strategies that you've seen that have worked versus the ones that don't work in networking and social media?
Yeah, I mean that's the topic that a lot of people are talking these days. I was getting in the last 2 weeks, I think 3 people asking me about the social selling, and I realized that in the recent months I started to connect social selling with the bad side of it. So what social selling is not and what people are doing to get to it. So I think we can start with what social selling is. Like an example, last week was my birthday and a guy sent me like happy birthday before the birthday. I hope you have a nice celebration. And then he sent me basically congratulations for the birthday. And by the way, we are available for that, and that. Please use that link and check it out. That's totally how you are not supposed to do it.
First of all, happy birthday. Happy late birthday. And this is related to another topic that we wanted to touch on this episode of empathy in B2B, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So they're very related, in my opinion, of having empathy with social selling. And social selling, it's, in my opinion, it's one of those buzzwords that make a lot of sense at the beginning. And then they start getting a negative connotation until they're trash, right? And then we start seeing these things. So I think we as marketers ruin everything. So cold email was fantastic until we ruin it. Text messaging is going to be fantastic until we ruin it. And social selling was a great idea, right? Because it's about using social media to build relationships and to the point that until you see an opportunity that makes sense to collaborate, and it's a win-win opportunity to help somebody. But it has transformed into I do sales on social media, which is not the same thing as social selling, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, in terms of like empathy, tell me, how did that message make you feel, right? Like it's your birthday, somebody sends you a message saying happy birthday, and then they try to sell you. Like, what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I don't know how to call it. It's funny if you look at it from that perspective, but it's just going against everything that's ethical or sacred just to get somebody to click on the link. And people don't think that they won't get anything out of my click over there because they gave me nothing. They say happy birthday, click the link. You know, and social selling actually is how we are using social media to, let's say, find, connect with, understand, and even nurture sales prospects. I mean, it's the modern way of how we develop meaningful relationships with not only potential customers, but people who can give us some value. It doesn't have to be connected with the sales all the time. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that. For some people, social selling replaced basically the cold calling.
Yeah, right. And the other thing, right? It makes you feel bad, and then it doesn't get results. Because
Yeah.
if it made, I would understand the argument of I'm trying to do something who doesn't feel very good or it's not very ethical, but it gets a lot of results, so I'm going to keep doing. But it doesn't, right? Because you're never going to click that link, and if you click it, you're never going to buy from somebody who used your birthday to sell you on something with no context. So I think at the end of the day, um, social selling, when done with no empathy, it's exactly what you said. It's cold calling, cold emailing, and it really doesn't work. So as marketers, we need to figure out how to utilize social selling to actually build relationships, right? So tell me, what do you think works in terms of social selling? Like, do you do social selling, and how it works for you?
Well, basically, how do I look at social selling is basically doing everything but selling. I mean, just today I added a comment on Chris Walker's post when he was also writing something about not writing content but not selling. I mean, just by doing that for a while now, I mean, I was never a person who is like pushy and trying to sell before everything. I'm a value first person. So I'm trying to get the right content to the right people. And if they feel like we are the right fit, if they feel that I gave them enough information so that I'm the one who can solve their problems, or they feel like we are a match that we can work together, they will go to my profile, they will check it out, they will see in a feature section that I have a link to contact us page from Funky Marketing website when they can schedule a call, and the copy on that page says this is where you start growing your business. Basically, they go over there and they schedule a meeting, and I was able to get at least 3 calls from like almost ideal customers in the last 4 weeks constantly.
Right.
So it means that my content is doing the right thing, exactly the thing that I want him to do, and it is educating the right people who will then see the fit, see that they can use those things that I'm talking about, those strategies that I'm talking about to grow their business. And what's interesting is that those people are not my connections. They became my connections after I saw a scheduled call. So they saw my post somewhere, somebody liked them from their network, and they went out, check out my profile, and just schedule a call.
Right.
They checked my feed, they saw what I was talking about in the last few weeks, and that's it.
Right. So I have 3 thoughts from what you said, which I think is really interesting. One, your website has to become your best salesperson, right? Because you do the selling on the website, your content and your social selling strategy just focuses on getting people to the website, and then they can see how exactly they can help you, right? I think your LinkedIn profile as well needs to be very optimized, so that when people reach out, see your name, or you leave a comment, they can look at your bio and your LinkedIn profile and actually get an understanding of what you do, right? So it's very important to get the copy right on your profile, get the headline right, get the links, get the work experience right. Your LinkedIn profile needs to be on the game to help the people that you drive from your engagement, from your content, towards actually the next step, which is your website and a DM seeing how you can work together. The second aspect that I wanted to mention from that is the importance of content marketing in social selling, right? Because there's a lot of social selling which is DMs and engaging in comments, but you need to put out content to start those conversations as well, right? And then identify yourself as a thought leader. So that's why content, I think, is key in social selling. So tell me more about that. Tell me more about like why content needs to be one of the main priorities for social selling.
Yeah, basically, there are two aspects of it. First one is that we need to, we can use content to see actually what's working, what's not, what's interesting for the people, what's useful for them. So, you know, we can think about it, or we can just post and see what's working and what's not. And I mean, as long as we keep like 3 or 4 hours between the posts, we can post as much as we can. And it won't be too much if the posts are right and they're giving the right value. But what I'm seeing is that people are just posting for the sake of posting. You know, there needs to be a strategy, as you mentioned last time. You need to have the KPIs behind it to know what you are going after. And one more thing is that, on the other hand, you need to engage with people. One thing is to post on your side and to give your perspective, and the other one is to go and comment on other people's posts and give value over there too. I don't mean like it's nice posts, nice job, man, those kind of things, but going there and really writing useful things with advices, with your overview, those kind of things. And it's good also, as we talked about on your podcast, to see if that comment gets traction, so you can use it also for your post. And there's a mistake that I'm seeing that people are making when it comes to those things, is that they're going all in on posting or all in on commenting. There's no middle. And if they are commenting, they are usually doing that on the profiles of their, I don't know, co-workers, of their friends, family, relatives, and nothing can get out of it. I mean, you should comment on the posts of your ideal clients or your potential clients, or people who can get something out of it, you can create connection with. And yeah, what's your point of that?
So I have a very tactical tip here that I use personally for engaging, because engaging takes a lot of time, right? And if you're a marketer or you're a salesperson or you're a business owner, you probably don't have 4 hours every day to be on LinkedIn. I think it's important to be time on LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn is very important, and I spend a lot of time there, but engaging can be very time consuming. So a practical tip that I have utilized is, if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is a bit expensive, but can really work because it can have a great ROI. What I do is I have a list of 250 prospects that are my ideal clients, right? In my case, those are B2B CEOs from the United States, running companies with over 50 employees mostly. And what I do is, instead of being on the feed on LinkedIn, which gets filled up with other people's comments or people that are sharing stuff that I don't need, or people that are my connections but not my ideal clients, I go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and on that list, it alerts me every time that one of my clients posts. So I go in every morning for 15 minutes. I go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, get the alarms, and engage on each potential client, instead of being on the feed. And that saves me a couple hours every day, and makes me be very targeted with my engaging and getting the most out of my time. So that's something that I use personally to engage with people. But it's something that I should do more personally. But I think if your content is good and your content is engaging, starting a lot of conversations, then you can over-index on your content, in my opinion. And that's what I've seen the most for myself. If I'm putting out good content, then I don't have to spend so much time engaging. What do you think about that, Nemanja?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was doing that also with the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's great. Not only on LinkedIn, I was using that on Instagram and on Twitter also. And not only for business. I mean, I've been using it to hear the news that I want to hear. And yeah, I mean, that's great. Also, when it comes to content, what we didn't mention is that type of content. If you want to provoke reactions and you want to other people to feel the exact emotion that you are trying to get to them, you need to mix with different kind of content. I mean, not only something that's working. Of course, you're going to go all in on something that's maybe new on the platform or it's giving you the most reach, but other things are also important, like not going all in on only on text, going on videos and mixing it up with some photos who are like more natural because you are showing that you are doing something offline or so. It's great that you can show a wider side of your personality and you can get closer to the people.
I actually half disagree with you on that because I think it's very individual to the person, right? So if you're a good writer, I'd say 98% of your posts need to be writing, right? If writing is your thing, then just do writing, at least at the beginning. Then expand onto other things, but focus, know what you're good at, and then that's the type of content you create because it's what's going to give you the best results, no matter what the algorithm says. Because if the algorithm, which it does, says text-based posts work better, um, but you're a terrible writer and you're a great video maker, your posts that are written are going to be trash. Versus if you do what you're good at and over-index on that, then it's going to be better. If you're a great photographer, put out photos. If you're a great video maker, put out videos. And if you're a great writer, create written content. And then 6 months down the line, a year down the line, maybe start mixing it up, right? But at the beginning, focus on what you're good at. What's your skill to communicate? And then double down on that. Because it's better to be the great writer than to be a good writer, good video maker, at least at the beginning. Then I started just writing, and now I'm putting some video content, but all the way until now, it's just been writing, right? And I'm never going to put pictures because I'm not very photogenic and I look horrible in pictures. So I'm not going to put that. But I know what I'm good at, and I know what I want to improve, and I know what I don't even want to touch ever, which is pictures. But I do have a question for you, which is, so you say your value first, and I see that on your post. But do you ever put out an offer post where you like say, "Hey, I'm available to talk," or "I have time for a few free consulting," or is it just always value, no sales?
Yeah, I mean, I consider that also a value. Like when you're trying to help people on one-on-one calls and those kind of things, that's even more value than just writing posts.
Right, but we all know what we mean by that. Like if I say I'm taking a few free consulting calls, it's because I want to sign you as a client. Like let's not bullshit each other, right? In the vast majority of cases. So when we say I have a few hours to take on free consulting, it's mostly sales, and it's a copy written for sales type of post. So do you mix both, or do you just do, I'm going to give you so much value until you come to me?
I do it from time to time, but not that often. I mean, I do it from time to time, mostly in Funky Marketing Facebook group, when they're like, but what's happening, it's like not the people who are the most active over there are responding to that, but some people who have a need. And
Right.
I usually do it when I have time, like around the new year, or I don't know, now when it's a holiday or something like that, when people are free, and then I ask them. But I also give, when somebody schedule a call, I give them like half an hour of free consulting, no matter if they're gonna get to it or not. It's up to them how much information they're going to provide before the call.
I like that. Do you want me to like share what I'm doing and which just has been working pretty well? So every 2 weeks, so on the first and third Thursday of every month, I put out an offer post. And then on that offer post, it's sales copywriting completely, where I offer 30 minutes of my time for free consulting with content marketing or personal branding. And I call out the specific people that I want. I say, hey, B2B CEOs, I have 4 hours next week that I'm going to split in 30 minutes breaks for people to get free consulting with me. And that has generated so much business for me, because it's a way of doing the last push for people that have seen your content to say, okay, now's the time I reach out, right? So I say, put out me in the comments if you want me to schedule something, and I'll DM you. And every time I put that, I generate 4 to 5 calls. Maybe I close 1, maybe I close 0, but it's 4 or 5 actual leads that help me. But at the same time, I don't recommend everybody to do that or to do it that often as I do, because I do it every 2 weeks. But at the same time, I post every day, right? So, and I'm posting pure value. So 1 every 15 posts of sales is fine to me, at least for myself. But if you're doing it every single time, then it's not going to work. And the other thing I say though, and I actually believe that, and it's true, and I do it, is I say, I'm not going to pitch you. So if you join the call with me for 30 minutes, I'm not going to say, let's work together. You might say it because I'm really good, but I'm not going to be the one to bring it up. And I think that also like lowers the pressure of people joining the call, and we can actually build good relationships when we're both straightforward with each other.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that you said. I disagree that you don't need to do it, because people go into those extremes. Either I'm going to post content without any sales CTA, or I'm going to go all sales.
Absolutely. And I think Petra makes a really good point here. She put it in the comments, guys, if you want to see it, where she talks about like you can get great recommendations and reviews from those calls. It doesn't have to be direct sales, and that's exactly right. Like you're helping somebody. I've gotten a couple testimonials that I still use from time to time, right? And you're building relationships, which it might not be a client right now because it's not a good fit, but it might be a client 2 years down the line, right? I was talking the other day with the business owner of a company that helps furniture companies take a table or a chair and using virtual reality with the phone make you look like it's in your house to see how it fits and stuff like that. And they had just started, right? They were doing a couple grand in revenue, and they were not a good fit right now, but I tried to add so much value because 2 years from now, maybe they're doing a couple million, right? And now we have that relationship. So you can get recommendations, reviews, and just human relationships from trying to meet people through your content. And that's why I call content-based networking, which is something that will be interesting to talk, right? Like how to use content to network with people as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if I were writing content in a different way, I would probably do the same as you are doing. Because I think the way I write content, I provoke people to react. Because I'm talking about things that I'm seeing that are not ethical, not good. I'm provoking people to take action or to do something, and they do. And it goes on the other way because they are coming to me to work with them. And if I were doing like sales posts that rare, I mean that often, it would mean that I would have to grow on a much higher pace than I'm growing right now, and that's not something that I want. And so basically what I was doing, I was connecting with people for a month and a half or 2 or 3 months, and I didn't respond to anybody. Then I'm taking time, like few hours, to respond to everybody, like personally, and to tell them like I would be like delighted to know more about you. I mean, I think 90% of the people who are friends with me on LinkedIn, who are connected with me, know that word, because I'm getting feedback like nobody is saying that.
Right.
Like, nobody really wants to get to know the people, and I'm continuing the conversation. I'm not just sending one message. And right now, I didn't send a welcome message to anybody, I think, in more than 3 months. Because if I do, I will get clients.
Right.
That's how I see the pattern works. And basically, now I'm satisfied where I am. I want to produce results because I'm focusing on revenue. So it
But
takes
that's a
time.
good problem to have, right? Know that when you're building relationships, you get clients. And
Exactly.
and this leads me to like how you and I met, right? Because we connected on LinkedIn, uh, and then we had a welcome message, right? I don't know what we were talking about, but I think we were talking about Red Star
Yeah.
versus Partizan or something like basketball. And then for the next month, I don't think we talked, but we saw each other's content, and then we commented, and we were nurtured over time. And that's another thing that we've discussed before, that content marketing and just marketing in B2B takes time. It's not transactional. It's not immediate. It's not impulsive. You don't buy a $10,000 a month retainer like you buy a t-shirt. So it's going to take time. And as marketers and salespeople, we're impatient. And we want it today. We want to generate that lead today. While if we just waited a little bit and acted like human beings, we would have that lead 3 months down the line. But we blow it by trying to rush things. It's like dating, right? Like you would not ask a guy or a girl to marry you on the first date, because she's going to look at you and say, what are you talking about? And she's going to run away. And that's what we do with marketers, right? We say, happy birthday. Hey, would you like to click this link and buy my stuff? So like calming things down, being relaxed, acting more human is the way that marketers should approach social selling and content. I wanted to ask you about something, because you talk about the way you write, and I do agree with you that there's a lot of personality in your content as well. And it's something that we're missing in B2B, right? A lot of our B2B content is boring, it's technical, it's not entertaining at all. And that's one of the things that D2C and direct to consumer companies do much better. Their content is so much more engaging. So how do we inject our personality to B2B marketing? How do we make B2B marketing fun to watch and fun to read and fun to consume?
Yeah, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth, because that's the topic that I wanted to get into. Basically, how I see the empathy. Empathy is the one thing that's between us, potential client, and the trust. So we need to get to the point where we have empathy for our potential clients, so we can get to the point where we can have their trust, and when they can actually believe that we can fulfill what we are saying that we can do. And in B2B, it's so much more focused on the brand. It's so much more direct to consumer, because you can do so many more things. You can do so many more things often, because it's the selling is fast, the marketing is fast. You can see the results faster. While here in B2B, I mean, people often come up with B2B as something mystical, you know. And if we get that personality, that focus on a brand, emotions into B2B, it changes completely. It maybe in like 10 years ago, it was like this, unemotional, but because it was one-sided. And now when it's two-sided communication in B2B are also people. So it's human to human. and we need to get the communication to that basic level, or talking to another human. And how do we do that? We do the research. We see who are those people, what are their interests, what motivates them, what are the I don't know, the pain points are something that's common. But if we get into some specific things that we can go and see what's it all about. I always remember that example. I always think that for good copywriting and for writing good things, the research is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And an example we did in the last company I worked for a client, where we had to for some medical clinic, we needed to get women who are pregnant to the clinic, and that means that we need to create a demand between women who are thinking about having kids.
Right.
We need to get into that mindset. So we need to think, I don't know, if you are a man thinking about, you need to get into the women personality, into the whole mindset.
Right.
So this is how you create the engaging content. You are thinking as your potential clients, as the people who you are talking to.
Right.
And if you are getting it in a more interesting way, which will motivate them to react, that's where you get the traction.
Absolutely. And I think it's what you mentioned, right? We talk about B2B, but and we say it as this company to company, but at the end of the day, there's a human on the other side and there's a human in our side, right? And her name is Michelle and my name is Marti, and we have to communicate. So when we talk about B2B, like you said, we're talking about human to human, but we don't, there are a few reasons, and I want to get into that. But one tactical advice I would say for B2B companies struggling with that is, one, to invest in the personal brands of their executive team, but also of their employees, right? So I think personal brand is the solution to making B2B more human. When you're doing the personal brand, you're promoting, whether it's your CEO, whether it's your VP of marketing, whatever individual it is in the company, you're allowing their human to promote the company versus the company promoting the company. And I think that, just letting somebody in again, that shifts the way we communicate, right? Because it's, nobody cares about, my company is called Influence Podium. Nobody gives a fuck about the Influence Podium. Like, they care absolutely nothing.
Okay. So
Yeah. All right, no worries. Working from home, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
So what we were saying, right? Like, the way we communicate in between, when we're promoting the human, that's what they care about, because they might not care about Influence Podium, but they care about me and my story. So when I help promote and create content for my personal brand, that directs back to my company, and my company benefits. And when my employees grow their personal brands, instead of me being scared of them creating content, I enjoy it, because by building their personal brands, they're also they're building the company. So a lot of companies, no matter how technical they are, especially in technical companies, right? Like, we were working with some IT company the other day, and nobody understands what they do in terms of content. But their CEO could grow their personal brand and become the most known CEO in the IT field, and then that would lead back to the company benefiting. So as we grow towards more B2B content, more personality in B2B, personal brands is something that matter. Your thoughts on that, Nemanja?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's where the employer branding comes in, and I think we should just take 1 hour in maybe in some of the next episode and get more into the employer branding from the company standpoint. But what you reminded me now is a thing that I was talking with somebody just a few days ago. Is that why companies are not investing in marketing, and not really investing because they are, but not believing in marketing. Yeah,
That's a good
Philip says
question because
to auto-mute everybody when.
yeah, no worries, Philip, no worries. I
Yeah,
think
uh, what I
one
wanted
of
to
the
say
go
is
ahead,
that
go ahead.
basically the CEO doesn't believe in marketing. They will hire somebody and won't give them the munition, won't give them the budget, or they will hire somebody just for the sake that they can say that they have the marketing team. And basically, it gives us to the point why CMO roles are that replaceable, because people don't have ammunition, they don't have what to work with, and it's all because the CEOs doesn't understand why they should do certain things. I think you are doing that communication with the decision maker and CEOs working on their personal brand, and I think you're probably getting into that conversation for them to understand why do they need to personally get active, and when they do, it changes totally their perspective on the marketing, on how some things are working, and how people are seeing it.
Yeah, I mean the people I work with, if they want to grow their personal brand, they're already CEO, like marketing CEO driven, right? The problem is 90% of CEOs don't believe in marketing. And I don't want to blame CEOs only because part of it is true. Like, I understand why they don't believe in marketing. And if there's more marketing people here in this call, I think we need to hear this. Like, marketing often sucks. Like, marketing often doesn't deliver results.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, your marketing is not delivering results, right? So, as a CEO, I believe in marketing because it's what I am. But if I was a technical CEO, I would go for sales because sales at least seem to deliver more than marketing. Because the marketing, this grow your brand equity and grow your brand. In most cases, you guys are not doing it well and it's not working. Now, it's not going to work right away, and we know that, but we have to be accountable to ourselves, right? We have to own a number and determine what success versus what isn't. I was working with an enterprise company through a friend last week, and they invested a ton of money. I'm talking 50K a month plus into marketing with no number, like no number that is, this is successful versus this isn't. And I'm not saying that number has to be leads or has to be whatever, but there has to be a way to keep our marketing people accountable. And I say that as someone who is in marketing full time. Like marketing is what I do, but sales own a number, right? Like they said revenue, and if we don't hit that revenue, we were not successful. But branding and marketing, if we don't own a number, then we're in this not needed but nice to have type of thing, and that's why a lot of CEOs are driving. I think the other challenge that we have as marketers, we need to educate our CEOs, right? Like, so what are the things that marketers can educate their executive team? Nemanja, what do you think should they be helping the CEOs who are more technical understand?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear from you. That's why I got to the topic. Yeah, one thing is that we need to educate them and get to the same perspective as them, so they can understand. Because today, so many CEOs now are technical CEOs, as you mentioned, like developers or engineers, and they are thinking on a totally different way than a marketer is, or somebody who works in HR and want to grow employer branding of the company.
They just don't even know what language you're talking. Because if I'm I'm a developer. All I know is about whatever the fuck developers know about, which I have no idea. You see, but that's the problem, right? I don't know what they know. And if I tell him we need to invest $15,000 on search engine optimization, he's going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? So like, how do we communicate in a language that we both understand? I think that's one of the biggest challenges that B2B companies have.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And like, this is some of the issues that then drive the problems, right? Because if I don't understand, if I'm a technical CEO and I don't understand, then I'm going to quit the projects before they can succeed, right? So if I don't see results on month 2 and sales deliver in month 2, then I'm thinking that you don't work, and then I quit it, right? Like I cut the budget. Well, maybe, I don't know if you've seen that meme where it's like a guy is trying to get, like, hitting the rocks to see the diamonds, and he quits before the last stroke, right? So maybe that's what was happening, and your marketing team needed 1 more month. But if we don't educate our CEOs on timing expectations, language, what are the things that we're doing? Why are we doing them? How are we helping our clients? And simplifying our language to help them, that they're not going to understand, right? So maybe instead of, next time you have a meeting with your CEO, instead of telling we need to invest in SEO, you say we need to invest in when our buyers look up on Google how to buy our product, we're the first people that come up. So maybe they understand that. So language is super important inside of organizations.
Yeah, I mean, I spent last month explaining a client who is an engineer, how SEO, PPC, Facebook ads are working, like how the funnel is working step by step. I mean, that's something that I don't want to do, but I need to do it.
Right.
So he can understand. And I was just last night. I'm hosting these meetups every 2 weeks when I get somebody from the business or art world and to share their story. And we were talking about SEO. Like, people working in SEO usually say, "I cannot promise you anything."
Right.
Not even a 6 months, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, but that's not the answer, because I was doing SEO and I know that you can promise something in 6 months if you're doing the right way.
I was going to say, if you say I cannot promise anything, then you're probably trash, honestly. Like, I'm not saying you promise results or you promise we're going to triplicate your revenue, but you need to promise at least something so that the CEO understands, right? Maybe and Philip, maybe you want to unmute yourself and jump in here to talk about outcome-oriented communication, because I think you make a great point, right? At least tell them how you're going to try to get to the outcome. Philip, you have the floor. Tell us more about outcome-oriented communication, please.
It's exactly as you guys already said. Its goal has to be, I want to do this for that, so that we can then do X, Y, Z. And most of the times, and it's the same with numbers, yeah. And if we can't represent our results in numbers or in any fashionable, understandable way, dumb it down, but not dumb, but in the sense of that even your mother, your father, who's not in that sector, can understand it. And yeah, I think the most honest point is, what I always try to do is just explain it to my son. And then if that works out, everybody else can also understand it.
Yeah.
Problem is, the more I do it, the more he understands, and then I have to find another person
and he becomes a great marketer.
Who knows? Could be. But yeah, that's exactly the point. And this is what you guys already said with empathy. And it's the same in any piece of content. When we're experts, we always jump into our lingo, into our buzzwords. And if we talk to one another, we use these because they reduce the complexity for us. But if we talk to somebody else who isn't either that knowledgeable in that field or who has worked in that field, yeah, you really have to reduce it. And if you're good at that, you're practically good at your job, because you understand the complex concept, but on the other hand, you can really, really then explain it. And that means that you've fully embraced and fully understood the complete topic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I try to explain it to my grandma, right? Like, if my grandma, who is 80 years old, understands, then the CEO who runs a web development company, he's going to get it too, right? And what you said about using numbers, I think that's super important as well, because that differentiates you from 90% or 95% of the agencies out there. So being able to say, we help this company increase by X% or by total of Y, then you're breaking through the 95% of agencies, especially in marketing, who just use a lot of buzzwords and actually don't get results. right? So being able to prove that while you're selling, while you're using marketing, but also while you're communicating one-on-one with your clients or internally within your team, I think that can make all the difference. What do you think, Nemanja?
Yeah, there's also other side of it, and that's knowing what you want to get when you're buying something. I'm outsourcing a lot of things, and oftentimes, like, people just don't want to get into giving specific things if you don't demand them. Because it's easier. They are used to that kind of things, and they are used to people not holding them accountable for the results. And it's easy. So it's also the other side. You need to know what you are going after and what you want to get for the price that you are paying.
Yeah, and it's what we're saying, right? You have to talk their language. They're not going to talk yours, right? So if you're an agency working with clients, or if you're part of the marketing or sales team within an organization and you report back to the VP or to the executive team, they're not going to learn about SEO to be able to talk to you. You have to learn how to talk to them, right? And that's been a challenge when I'm working with more technical CEOs, because I don't know a lot about fintech, or I don't know a lot about web development or stuff like that. So to me, it's more about, like, you have to do, it's what you're saying, you have to do the research so you're able to communicate with them. It's like copywriting. One-on-one communication is like copywriting. You're just verbally communicating with other stakeholders, and you need to be able to share it in ways they understand. And it's what Philip was saying, right? It comes back to empathy. Are you selfish asshole that is going to say, we're going to do PPC for you? Or are you going to say, when people look up on Google, we're going to pay so that you're the first link that they see, right? It's a completely different strategy and communication ways. And that can change a lot. If there's one tactical thing that I think we can take out of today, is how to create outcome-oriented communication. Shout out to Philip, to improve communications internally, externally, and as with potential clients as well.
Agree. We should name this week's episode that way.
After Philip, yeah, and that's what we're saying, right? And that type of communication is less boring. It's more effective. And we've talked about this, like how to make, before we end this, how to make B2B conversation less boring. That's one way, right? And using empathy to communicate in ways that the other party understands. And the other thing is, like, don't be scared, right? A lot of B2B companies are scared to show personality because they have investors, or they think that they have to be serious all the time, and they don't, right? Like, you can take some of the lessons from D2C and apply them to B2B. Like on Twitter, McDonald's and those type of fast food companies, they kill it because they show personality. Nike,
it became the bar became so low that you just need to respond in humorous way and you'll get it.
Yeah, Nike put out a fucking commercial or a fucking ad with I forgot the guy's name that plays football, but who was taking a shoulder during the a knee during the national anthem. And whether you agree or not with that strategy, or whether you agree with him specifically, Nike stood for something and showed their personality, right? And their sales increased and their value as a brand increased because now that's something that you relate to. But there's no B2B company in the world who would have taken that stand and stand for something, right? So how do we transition that? How do we let B2B companies be more human, be more personalized, be more on one side or the other, not always in the middle? That's feel good, right? Let's get more radical, and our B2B companies are going to explode.
Yeah. Also, one other thing is being more conversational, like going after conversations, not after sales.
All sales come from an initial conversation, right?
Of course.
So especially in B2B. So So this is something that I believe in a lot. How do we make our communication a bit more human, a bit more conversational? I'm not saying we have the answers. I'm saying this is something that if you're in B2B, you have to start thinking, right? Because if we all sound the same, nobody stands out. But if somebody sounds differently, it changes the way we communicate. Drift does this very well, right? The conversational guys, they have a voice and they use personal brands. There's a competitor of Shopify who is run by a good friend of mine. The company is called Elliot, who have like used D2C communication strategies in B2B. Follow them on Twitter. Their name is Elliot Store, ELIOT Store. And you will see that the content they make seems like D2C, but it's B2B. And they're growing just from social media. So this works. We just have to be less afraid, right?
Yeah, guys, any questions? And we can wrap up this week's Q&A slowly. Marti was brave.
I'm so sick, guys. I have big time allergies, but I'm gonna push through it. And the last thing before we wrap this up, I think B2B companies need to be aware of the channel they communicate in, right? Before, you needed Forbes, you needed commercials, you needed a TV show if you wanted to be on TV, and now that we have gone past that, we don't need a middleman, right? Like you can communicate with your marketplace on Twitter, on social media, on LinkedIn. You can have a podcast, which is like a TV show. You can write on Medium, which is like writing for Forbes. So the channels of communication have changed, and a lot of B2B companies are old school, and we need to adapt and move to the 21st century as well. Yeah, if we don't have any question, we can wrap this up and get ready for next Wednesday for another episode.
Yeah, guys, feel free to send us questions, messages, suggestions of what we can talk about, what can be the next topics, maybe even more specific or strategic ones, so we can get into some examples. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys don't have it right now, feel free to send it during the week. I'll put out my LinkedIn if you want to do the same. Nemanja, I'll put it here. Oh shit, that's the.
That's great. I think I'm connected with everybody on the call.
Okay, perfect. Right, so you can look me up on LinkedIn because I put the wrong link at Marti Sanchez, or join my email. I just put you guys the LinkedIn URL in case you need it, or my email newsletter, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Right, Nemanja? Same time, same place.
Same place, same time.
Hopefully feeling better,
guys.
But awesome, guys.
Let's hope I'm not gonna repent with the allergies.
Yeah, because I'm crying today, so like I'm gonna go out. All right, guys. I appreciate your time. Next Wednesday, 6 p.m., same time, same place.